Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenna if you guys are new here. Welcome to just a little life catch-up Q&A video. I think it's been around a quarter since I did this, around like 3 months. Currently finishing my Compass Coffee Mint Nitro Cold Brew, which is literally the best if you guys have a Compass Coffee. And I just planned out all of the questions that I'm gonna answer for you guys. There's a lot. I asked you guys on both my YouTube community tab and my Instagram, and I don't think I'm gonna answer everything, but I will try my best. I'm looking here and I sectioned everything out between career, YouTube, relationship, lots of questions about me and Thomas, marathon training / running, and just overall like miscellaneous / personal questions. So I will of course leave timestamps for everything down below. I have 40% in my battery and I'm gonna cap it at when this battery dies. So we'll see how many questions I get through. More or less, I love these videos because I love my vlogs, but since my vlogs showcase a lot of showing and not exactly telling, in addition to speaking about something usually pretty specific, sometimes it's just nice to have like a life catch-up Q&A where I answer your guys' specific questions and you feel caught up on my life. Or we just hang out together too. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's start with career questions. Actually, there's not as many career questions as I usually get, but maybe that's just because I'm not really talking about my job lately. I still have it. I just don't really want to work. So I feel like when we're in the summer months, it's just natural to not want to work as much. So some of the questions that you guys have actually relate to this. So first question, advice for getting motivated after traveling and getting back on track when you're procrastinating. These are two separate questions that I put together because I feel like they kind of relate to the same thing. It's like, especially if you've taken some PTO, it's like, how do you get back on track with stuff? Or how do you get motivated after traveling? How do you get motivated at all if you just don't want to do work? I just want to acknowledge that it's okay and normal and natural to not want to do work in the summer, or just at all, but I feel like especially in the summer, it's really hard to stay motivated. To be honest, what I tell myself is I'll give myself like hour blocks to just try to get something done, and I will straight up reward myself with a break of leaving my desk for like 5 or 10 minutes and then get back to the next thing. And a lot of times I try to break up my tasks within those hour blocks. It depends on what kind of job you have, but I feel like that's a good way to stay motivated. Put on your over-the-ear headphones. I've talked about that a lot in my recent videos. That actually has really helped me to become motivated when I don't want to do something. It's like you put in your AirPods or your headphones and you just lock in. And I think that's a really good way to get focused on one singular task. But just in general, when it comes to being motivated after traveling, or if you're procrastinating, give yourself just a full-on break and like let yourself kind of mentally regroup and say, okay, when I come back from this walk, or I'm gonna have a snack, after this, I will get something done. You just kind of have to like tell yourself and put yourself in the mindset instead of being like, I don't want to work, I don't want to work, I don't want to work. Because if you continue to tell yourself that, then you will believe it and then you actually won't be working. So, and if you have a 9-to-5 job, I feel like it's easy to just say, I just have until the end of the day. I just have until 5 p.m. no matter what time it is, whether it's 9 a.m., 12, 3, that's like usually how I break up my day. What can I focus on in the next 3 hours? I can give myself a break, and it actually lets me be more productive in that way when I break it up like that. Focus on one thing at a time, and then the day's over. And when the day is over, you're like, okay, I'll get my life back after 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or whatever time it is. Motivating yourself in that way, like encouraging yourself, helps. I don't have like perfect advice on that, but that's just stuff that's helped me along the way. What is most helpful in building your resume out? Because I'm trying to build mine. I think this was a business analyst from the question. Well, overall, I would say there's really good free online resources on how to strengthen your resume. There's just small little skills here and there where like every single bullet relates to a verb, or every single bullet is like a past tense verb. Try your best to incorporate every single bullet with some sort of metric, whether you grew your team's efficiency or something by X%, or you were able to generate like X number of dollars from this client, something like that. Try to incorporate metrics in your bullet points. Try to make each bullet point relate back to a verb of what you either currently are doing or previously did. And then also, to be honest, you guys, I would run it through ChatGPT. I would copy and paste your current resume and ask ChatGPT to strengthen it for the job position that you're looking into. I think that's like a really good, free, easy, and valuable way to use AI, where of course you shouldn't just copy and paste whatever ChatGPT gives you, but I just think that it's a really good way to overall like strengthen your baseline, and then you can look at each bullet point that it's given and review it, make sure you can speak to it. Every single bullet point in your resume is hopefully something that you should be able to speak to for a long period of time if you're being interviewed and they ask about it. So that's kind of how I've viewed my resume. And overall, you just kind of look at your resume, and at the top, hopefully you have something about like what your general skills are. Your experience will speak to those skills, and those skills are like your ideal toolkit. Those are just some ways that I feel like I've built out my resume, but overall there's just a lot of free resources that can help you. Okay, how do you know when it's time to move on to another opportunity? So I'm not sure if this person was talking about like career or YouTube or just life in general, probably all of them. But I put this back to my career because I've moved jobs now 3 different times. I was in government contracts consulting, I was in market research or market intelligence, and now I'm in operations. I feel like it's one of those things where like you just know when it's time. There comes a time where you don't really want to work, but there's a difference between not really wanting to work or feeling a little bored and dreading logging on every single day. And I think it's hard to differentiate. I do this a lot where it's like, I'm bored or I'm just not really sure if I'm providing enough value. It's like, those are not things, in my opinion, that correlate to me wanting to move on to the next opportunity. I feel like it's the other half where it kind of becomes a little too extreme. I'm dreading logging on. I have really bad Sunday scaries. It's taking me a long time to do something that it shouldn't usually. I feel like those are signs where it's kind of time to move on. But having said that, I think when it comes to your job, you should always kind of look at what opportunities are out there. I'm always looking on LinkedIn, always looking at what job opportunities are there because you kind of never know. So I don't really know exactly sure when it's time, but I feel like those are the signs that I've been able to see in my last 2 jobs of like when it was time to move on. Okay, and those are all my career questions. I love it. Not many questions about 9-to-5 stuff, which I'm all here for. So next we have YouTube questions. Okay, 1, what is your favorite camera? Probably, I would say this camera, the Sony ZV-E10. I just love it. I feel like it's a really compact camera. It's really high quality. I think it has a good battery. I really like my microphone that I have, which is the Sony ECM-G1. And then my lens is the Sony 11mm f1.8 wide angle lens. The only thing I wish this camera had is a flash so that when I take photos, I could do flash photography. And, well, 2 things. That, and I wish I had in-body stabilization, which I hear the next version of the Sony ZV-E10, like Mark II, hopefully should have in-body stabilization. I can go without the flash, but in-body stabilization would be so nice. Instagram versus YouTube and pros and cons of each. I actually just ranted about this on my close friends story, which none of you guys are on, or like, if any of you guys are my personal friends on my close friends story, then you've seen it. I don't want to rant too long about Instagram versus YouTube, but I would say overall, I feel like Instagram is a mixture of someone's personal social media, but also their content creation portfolio, if that is the industry that they're pursuing or they're in. So it's like a mixture of both, which is why I feel like Instagram can be more draining, can feel more repetitive, can kind of feel more like you're not really sure what's going on with that platform. Whereas YouTube, it's not so much a social media, more so as it is a search engine and a platform for creators to upload content. And honestly, I love YouTube more because when it comes to me creating content, which I've done for almost 4 years now, it just feels like my safe space. Like I don't really feel that comfortable making content on Instagram and TikTok just because I know it's also treated so much like a social media, and I don't know, I just feel like there's more eyes on Instagram. Even though I have like a larger community of like almost 40,000 subscribers on YouTube, but I have less than 10,000 on Instagram. For some reason, I just feel more comfortable with like my YouTube community and who I am online on YouTube. So I think that's like the pros and cons, I feel like, where I stand on Instagram versus YouTube. I love Instagram because I love photos, and short form content is really cool when sometimes I don't really love short form content. I'm trying my best to make it different to my long form and do more like local based things and voiceover type of content. But sometimes I just feel like on Instagram Reels, it's just the same thing. And I know that's the algorithm working, but it's like, I'm just always seeing like a 1 hour home reset and trending audio. And for some reason that just feels so much more draining. And also I think like the action of scrolling is a lot more draining than just like watching a nice YouTube video that you chose, that you kind of know what you're getting into because you've clicked on that video. I think those are the huge pros and cons. Cons of YouTube though, I think there are cons. I think the larger you grow on YouTube, but that's the same for Instagram too. The larger you grow, the more like hate you'll probably get. And that just comes with the territory of like uploading content publicly. And I guess for YouTube, the content takes longer to edit or create, but I love that. That's like my sweet spot. Clearly I love YouTube more than Instagram, but that's just how it is for me. Let me know what you guys think, especially as consumers. If you're not someone that creates content, how do you feel? But I guess if you're watching this on YouTube, maybe you prefer YouTube too. YouTube is the best, isn't it? Okay, favorite partnership ever. That is such a hard one. I feel like I've worked with so many really cool brands. I have a really soft spot for Ana Luisa. They were my first paid sponsorship, and I feel like they're also the most laid back, and they really give you like all creative freedom to kind of do whatever you want with the partnership, which I really love and appreciate, and I wear their jewelry all the time too. So I feel like Ana Luisa is probably one of my favorite partnerships. Recently, I love working with Ritual. I feel like they're really easy to work with, and I also love their product. I literally just had like my vitamins and my probiotic like right before I started filming this video. Okay, and then lastly, current favorite vloggers. How about we just go to my subscriptions right now and I'll show you guys a screenshot of who's like first on my subscription list, because I feel like that's how you can tell who my favorite vloggers are. It's like, who do I watch the most, interact with the most, engage with the most. Okay. Abby Aslin, Abby Weinstein. You guys know I love her so much. I just love Abby. I was just texting her the other day, or I think I was DMing her. I was like, I feel like we're just such similar people. Like, and it's weird to think that a lot of my personal friends don't know what's going on in my life because I share it all on YouTube, but I feel like I don't want to like repeat it a lot. So unless my personal friends watch my YouTube channel, which not a lot of them do, which I love because I'm embarrassed, they're not really knowing what's going on so much on like a day-to-day basis, especially for like what I'm thinking. So sometimes I feel like I know Abby really well, even though I've never met her in person, but I just feel like we're really similar and I love her. So Abby is someone who I watch all the time. Like she's like someone, if she uploads, I'm literally watching it like right away. Or like I'll save it for like a treadmill workout because her vlogs are longer and I love that. Carter Sullivan, you guys know, Carter is actually the person that inspired me to start my channel in the first place. She was someone that I was watching in the midst of COVID in 2020. I was so lonely and I was watching her channel and I was like, she's just sharing her life. Like, why don't I do that? So she was actually someone that really inspired me to start my channel. You guys know I love Carter too. I don't know if I haven't talked about that in a while, but fun fact. Alexis Eldridge, I love her so much too. She is a New York vlogger and I just love her personality. I love her humor. I love the way she edits. It's like very clean, but it still shows a lot of her personality. So I love that. Okay. And then of course, Rachel Vin, duh. Rachel is like one of my best friends and it's so crazy because we connected because of YouTube. I think she was a subscriber of my channel like before I had 1,000 subscribers. So I've known her for like almost 4 years now too, which is crazy. I just love her so much. She's like really one of my closest friends. And whenever she uploads, I'll watch it right away. She usually uploads pretty often too. So a lot of these creators are the ones that upload very consistently that I just watch right away. Okay, and then last two I'll mention, Michelle Reed. I always watch her videos. I love her so much. Oh my gosh. I also haven't met Michelle before, but I just feel like she's every single person's comfort YouTuber. Am I wrong? I think I'm correct. Like a unique comforting aura to her videos and the way that she edits, the music she uses, and especially now that she has a baby, it's like even more cinematic because she wants to keep her baby like more private. But I just feel like I love the way she's been filming, especially since she's had her baby. So I love her, and I feel like I commented on one of her videos but she like reminds me of my mom when I was really young. She's like a superhero mom. And I feel like watching her is making me understand my mom better, of like seeing all the different ways in which she like prioritizes her family and her baby, but also herself and how challenging that is. And I don't know, I just feel like I see my mom when I watch her. My mom's also a stay-at-home mom. Being a homemaker is a full-time job and there's so much intention that goes into being a stay-at-home mom. So I don't know, I'm like getting emotional. Oh my God. I just love Michelle Reed. She's amazing. And then lastly, Adrienne Hill. I love Adrienne because I want to go to Korea so bad. So whenever I watch her videos, I'm just like, I want to go to Korea, which I'm hoping to go either this year or next. But I love Adrienne. I just also absolute pristine aesthetic to her videos. I love the way she color grades, the way she edits, and also just who she is online. I feel like it's very authentic to her personal self and I love her so much too. I haven't met her in person, but I hope to one day. Okay, those are all of my YouTube questions. Oh my God, okay. I gotta speed it up. Relationship questions. Ooh, juicy. Do you and Thomas have any shared goals? Not really, but I feel like me and Thomas isn't the most like in-depth person when it comes to like goal setting. I feel like that's also something that I really started because being intentional on my YouTube channel, it's like something that I try to plan out. I've asked Thomas from time to time, like, what goals do you have? And his are pretty simple. It's like graduate medical school, be proud of that, like get married one day, have kids one day, buy a house. Like Thomas's goals, I feel like are very aligned with mine in that way. But since I make goals on a monthly basis, I don't think everyone has to do that. Like if it's not for you to make monthly goals, I don't think you have to at all. And he's just one of those people. So I feel like our shared goals are the same. The like big hitter things and like big life milestones are the same. I mean, I'm not in medical school, but I feel like when he graduates, it'll feel like I'm graduating too. You guys know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I would say to that. Do you and Thomas plan to move to a new state, or would you want to stay in the DMV / do we plan to stay here long term? I actually haven't said this publicly, and I don't know if anyone in my family is watching, but I've actually told Thomas that I'm open to residency being somewhere else, or even living somewhere after residency in a different state. I've lived in Maryland / Virginia my whole entire life, and I love it so much. I feel like it's a really great place, and I've been here all my life, like for a reason. I'm also in a long-term relationship, and I feel like that contributes to me wanting to stay here, but I'm open to living in a different state. I don't feel like bound. I think if we were to live in a different state, I would just try to come home as often as I could, knowing that it won't be as often as now because I want to see my family. Both of our families are in Maryland. After medical school, which he ends in 2 years, it's another one of the questions. Thomas is currently a third-year medical student. He will graduate in 2026 and around like May. And then residency, I believe, starts anywhere between like June and I think maybe August of 2026. And so we will move wherever his residency is, whether his residency is in the DMV area or in a different state. Like, we just have to go wherever residency takes him, and I'm gonna go with him. So whether that's here, we don't know. Like, you can't really plan for that. Those are our plans. It's really just to go to residency. I don't know after that. Where did Thomas and I grow up? We both grew up in Central Maryland. That's actually how we met. We met in high school. I don't know if I feel comfortable putting it on blast, but I have a really old video that Thomas and I did when I first started my channel of like a boyfriend Q&A if you want to watch our younger selves. And then lastly, how do you balance being yourself and a girlfriend / daughter / professional, etc.? I put this in the relationship section just because even though it's not specific to just my relationship, I feel like it's about like relationships in general and how I maintain my own unique self. I think because I'm in a long-term relationship, I've been dating Thomas for 10 years since I was 17 years old. It's something that I've been very hyper aware of because I have always been kind of worrisome or anxious that like I'm being naive sometimes being in a long-term relationship, and that's something that I've had to work on in the past. But I think because I've been dating my boyfriend long-term, I've been very aware of wanting to be my own self and knowing that I'm not my long-term boyfriend, or I'm trying my best to be like the best daughter, but that's not just who I am. I feel like being in a relationship for a long period of time has just made me prioritize being my own self and knowing who I am and knowing what my values are, especially being online too. It's like I want to be sure of who I am and who I present myself as online. So even though you guys are watching me right now and I'm trying my best to be like my most authentic self, and I do believe I am, it's something I feel like there's still this film of like, this is who I'm presenting myself to be publicly. I think something that also grounds me is knowing that like I can't just be a daughter. I can't just be a girlfriend because we have so many hats that we wear in our lives. We're also working or prioritizing different areas of our lives. But yeah, in the end, I just feel like I want to know who I am and be proud of the person that I am online, because being online is a public thing. And I think that's really serious. Lastly, I feel like you don't have to be in a relationship long term or be online to know who you are. It's just those are the circumstances that have like kind of put it right in front of my face of like, okay, I need to make sure I know who I am. So whatever it is for you, whoever's watching, if you feel like you're kind of losing yourself and you're not exactly sure who you are, I would say just kind of start asking yourself those questions. And it's really helped me, especially as I grow older and as I one day become a mom. I really want to be confident in the person that I am if I am going to impact others. So I want to be a good daughter, a good XYZ, and I've struggled with that a lot in the past of trying to be the best at everything, but I am just human at the end of the day. And as long as I go to sleep being somewhat okay with how I spend my day, then that's kind of all I can ask for. Yeah, okay, I'm done rambling. Those are all of the relationship questions. Marathon training / running. Okay, maybe I'll just change my battery because I do have another battery. How do you break up your strength training and your marathon training? So I'm currently on week 2 right now, or no, week 3 of my marathon training out of 18. And I break up strength training just because I go to Orange Theory and I go to lift classes. So I strength train twice a week, one lower body day, one upper body day. And then I run 4 to 5 times a week. Right now it's 4, but I think eventually it'll turn into 5. On the shorter run days, I'm following the Hal Higdon Novice 2 marathon plan. On the shorter mileage days, right now I'm still at like 3 miles for my shorter days. I'll usually lift on the same day. So that's how I break it up. I feel like strength is something that I really want to prioritize as I'm training for my first marathon, because I think that's what will help me carry through when I'm like mile 20 plus. It's like the overall strength. So that's how I'm doing my current strength training. Tips for running as a slow runner. So I would say if you're running as your definition of slow, everyone's definition of slow is different, but you just have to kind of focus on the fact that if you're jogging, whatever pace that is, like remove the pace. If you're running as what physically feels like to you as a jog, that's what will let you run longer. And so every time you do a long run that's a jog, you are training your heart in that way. It's like zone 2 training. Tips for running as a slow runner. If you're jogging, if you're running your version of slow, you're still running and you're running for longer because you're able to maintain that lower heart rate. So I would say continue to jog and just try to do some speed work. That's why I like doing run clubs, because naturally running with other people has led me to run faster. So sometimes I treat them as speed days. I also go to Orange Theory, which does a lot of interval training on the treadmill for speed. I'm not really good at going to the track. I don't go at all. I don't go to the track. And so yeah, those are my tips for slow running. There's no slow, but everyone has their version of slow, and that's just a jog, but a jog will let you run longer, and that's what you have to tell yourself. Do you you ever feel guilt going on a run and not bringing your dog? No, because I have a Shih Tzu, and if you guys know that breed, like they're not active. So if I had an active dog, maybe I would feel differently. I would just bring my dog for runs if I did have an active dog, but my dog like cannot walk for more than like 20 minutes without panting so much than wanting to go inside. So I don't really feel guilt in that way, but I also don't have an active dog. Switching from your Apple Watch to a coros, do you like it, and what made you switch? So I switched because on my birthday last year, my cousin who's a marathon runner, he was like, get rid of your Apple Watch. So that's why. And then he gave me a gift card to contribute paying for a new running watch. So that's why I went with coros. I went with coros over Garmin just purely out of price. And Rachel, one of my best friends who's also a marathon runner, she loves her coros. So I was like, okay, I'll do coros. It's like a little bit cheaper. But truthfully, aesthetically, I kind of wish I went with Garmin. Chris Huey, who is a marathon runner and an overall just like lifter and Gymshark athlete, she's amazing. She has a Garmin, I think Venue 3 is what it's called. It looks so pretty. It just looks a lot prettier than this. Like this is clearly a running watch. And so if you don't care about aesthetics, I would just go with the coros. It's cheaper, it does the same exact thing. I love it overall. I don't really miss my Apple Watch. I do think it's like a little bit more aesthetically pleasing than this one, but I think overall a Garmin is both an amazing running watch and aesthetically pleasing. But again, those are just like really small, really insignificant things. I love my coros overall. It does everything I want it to, and the battery lasts so long. It lasts me like almost 2 weeks. Not charged. Like, it's crazy. Do you recommend treadmill running for marathon training in this DC heat? Honestly, yes. You guys know I love the treadmill. I have excuse me. How long was that on? I have a grippy, which is one of those like suction things, and I just put it on my treadmill and I watch YouTube videos when I'm on the treadmill. It helps make the time go by so fast. It like distracts you so that you don't realize you're like running in place. Personally, I run faster when I'm on the treadmill. And so with that, I wouldn't only recommend treadmill running because there's just something different where you have to like force yourself to move forward as opposed to like maintaining a pace because it's already helping you move forward. For that reason, I feel like treadmill running is really good for speed days, or if it's just like so hot and you want to get those miles in, there's still miles done. I would just say you don't want to only do treadmill running because it will make road running really hard. Really, really hard. Okay, and the last marathon question, if you could wear one athletic brand, what would it be? I don't have a favorite, if I'm being honest. I feel like all of the running brands are so wildly expensive. Like the Bandit running outfit, that's like a cool running brand, way too expensive for me to have like my whole closet be from there. There's other brands that I've found where it's just all so expensive, and I get it. It's probably functionally really great, but it's just really hard for me to justify spending so much money on gear, on like running clothes when I already have so much. Most of my running gear and workout gear is from Gymshark purely because of the price. I feel like the price and quality is the best mix. I also really love Girlfriend Collective sports bras. Yes, I really love Nike. I don't know. I don't have a favorite. Let me know if you run, like if you do have a favorite, because I just don't have one. And those are all of the marathon training / running questions. I do have a couple of miscellaneous and personal. I have 5% now on my battery, so I'm going to change it. Okay, hello, I'm back. 10 to 15 more minutes and then I have to sign on to work. I feel like my hair has literally dried as I've been doing this Q&A, so I hope you've enjoyed it. Okay, let's see. Miscellaneous / personal questions that I feel like I couldn't really put into those other buckets, but I want to answer them nonetheless. So, where would you live other than Arlington? Actually, I do have a good number of Arlington questions. I have no idea. I feel like most of my friends are in New York City, but I don't really think I would enjoy living there. I feel like it would just be too much for me. Or I would thrive. I don't know. All of my friends tell me that they think I would love New York, so maybe I just don't know because I've never actually lived there. I don't have a preference. I would go anywhere. I would just go anywhere my boyfriend is, so I would honestly just make anything work. Advice for learning your heritage language in your 20s. So you guys know that this is the year that I've really dedicated to learning Korean. I don't know if I've said this in the past, but I've always been able to read Korean and I can like enunciate, but I just never really knew the vocab or the grammar or how to like converse with someone. And so it's been really challenging just being Korean fully but not knowing the language. And my goal this year was to say that I've learned more this year than I ever have in my life. And technically that's true as of now, but I'm still in no way like conversational, and that's like my ultimate goal. So I would say my best advice is that you just have to get a class. Like if you can't self-motivate, which I can't, I've said this way too many times, but you have to get a class because it will, one, speed up the time it takes for you to learn it because you have a teacher that's actually teaching you, and it just forces you to study. I'm someone that has to be self-motivated with so many other things that learning a language, as I found in the first quarter of the year, just took the back burner, and I felt like learning vocab was like the only way I could do it, or like the only thing I had time for. Whereas being conversational, you can't just know the vocab, but you have to also know the grammar and like how to put together sentences, which is really challenging. So it's been an amazing experience overall. Teacher, my sungsangnim, is amazing. She is so good at teaching Korean. Even Thomas, who is fluent, he listens to my class just so that he knows like what I'm learning, and he's like, that's a good teacher. So she's really great. I'll link her website and her Instagram in the description box. She's really, really good if you are interested in learning Korean. But I also found her through Instagram. So if you're looking for a different language, I would just look up, learn whatever language on Instagram and kind of see what shows up. That's how I found my class. What is something that you've learned about yourself this year? That's a good question. I feel like so my big goal for 2024, and I talked about this in my checking in on 2024 video, it was just to reach contentment or feeling a state of being unbothered. And I feel like I'm getting there. Something I've learned about myself though is that I've always known this, but I just have such a big heart. Like I'm like a wimp. And sometimes I don't really know my boundaries, or I can get sucked into like friendships or relationships pretty easily because I'm really quick to like love someone. So it's worked out in my relationship, but for friendships, it's always been really challenging for me because of that. I've gone through some stuff this year that I feel like I've like kind of addressed here and there. Like I lost a friend this year, and it wasn't necessarily like a big thing that had happened, but usually my past self, any other year, I'd be like heartbroken, can't stop thinking about it, which I do think about it often, but I feel like sometimes when you lose a friend, you have to kind of evaluate, like, did I actually really value that friend, or did I just value the idea of friendship? Watching a TikTok the other day, and this person was journaling about a friendship breakup, and they got through it by journaling who said friendship is supposed to last forever. I feel like social media creates this whole idea and like romanticizing your childhood friends or the friends that you've had since high school or your bridesmaids. You never know. And friendship, I don't think necessarily is supposed to last forever. A lot of times friends are just there for a certain chapter of your life that you needed them in that moment, but for some reason you just stop prioritizing each other. And whether it's you do that at the same time, or someone stops prioritizing the other person first and the other person just has to like realize it and carry on. I feel like I've learned that I'm a lot more resilient in that way than I realized, because previous years I've lost friends, whether they've moved away or there's been a fight, or I feel like I was like mistreated, and I would just get so distraught. And this is the first year where it's happened and I haven't gotten distraught, and I feel like hopefully that shows that I'm growing. Sorry for the rant. What's new in Arlington? I'll be moving there soon. Arlington County in general is huge. There's Pentagon City, there's Shirlington, there's like Ballston, Clarendon, Roslyn, like the metro stops. Arlington is so big. So there's a lot that's going on in Arlington. I feel like a lot of new, not just chains, but also new local places are opening. So when you come here, there will be a lot of new things opening, but I feel like it's hard to say. There's just a lot of new restaurants and a lot of new coffee shops that are opening in Arlington. You'll love it though. Will the next move be an apartment or buying/renting a house? Next year, if you guys watched my checking in on 2024 video, you guys know if we are moving or not next year. But I really hope to buy a house after med school ends, around residency time, just kind of depending on how the market looks. But I would love to buy a house. Death row last meal request. It would be my mom's tteokbokki. My mom's tteokbokki is literally the best, and so if I were to die in the next hour, that's my last meal request. There's nothing like it. She just adds all of the right stuff. Her sauce is so good. It's like a spicy rice cake meal, but my mom like makes it a luxe meal. Like there's a lot of stuff with it. So that would be my last meal. Tips for getting out of bed when you don't want to, just count down from 10. Just literally say, I will get up in 10, 9, 8, and then you just get up. How to stay in routine while traveling / best advice for creating a routine and sticking to it. I put these two questions together because I feel like they kind of relate, even though I know that they're different. For staying in routine while traveling, I would say do not be in any routine if you're traveling. If you're traveling, you're not home, you're not in your routine. So just kind of like enjoy being somewhere new and either relax, explore. Don't give yourself a routine if you're traveling. That's what I would say. And then best advice for creating a routine and sticking to it. I feel like just kind of knowing that there's never going to be like a perfect week where you stick to your routine every single day, but it's just areas of your routine that I feel like you can hone in on, where like if you had a good morning routine that day, technically you were in routine. Or if you had your work day and it went fine, then like that's in your routine too. Or if you go to bed by 10, but everything before that was crazy, then at least you still had the routine of going to bed before 10. I feel like your routine is okay okay to just be one singular thing. And that's kind of how you stick to it. It's like you don't want to overcomplicate it. So yeah, that's what I would say. I feel like it would be crazy. We'd be robots if we were fully in routine with everything all the time. But just because you're not in routine in one part of your day doesn't mean you're like not allowed to be in routine that day or go to sleep feeling like you had a good routine. I don't know about you guys, but for me, my routine involves like having to stay home. Again, that's not something I would want to do actually every single day, but if I have plans to see someone after work, but I was able to work out before work, that's part of my routine, and part of it is part of my routine. And so I would go to bed feeling like, okay, I had a good day, you know? Routine videos and productivity makes us kind of feel like we have to have every single aspect of our routine done and complete to have a routine day, but that's not true. It can just be one thing, and that's okay. And I feel like that kind of would help you feel like you are sticking to your routine. Okay, and this is the very last question. It's not very juicy, but this is just the last one that I wrote down. How do you determine what you're actually going to prioritize in a given month, and how do you make peace with the fact that you can't do everything you want to do? This is something that I've worked on a lot in the last couple of years. When I started making YouTube videos twice a week, in addition to working my full-time job and also just going through everything that life had, it was really, really challenging. And I have so many life update videos from the last couple of years where I would basically just say like, I'm so burnt out and I'm not prioritizing the right things. I wasn't prioritizing sleep and I wasn't getting everything done. I feel like at this point in my life where I've been creating content for 4 years, I'm 27 years old, almost 28 now. I feel like I have a really good balance of it, and I feel like I've just had to really know myself better and really like prioritize actually my mental health, and knowing that my mental health doesn't just affect me, but my mental health will affect everyone I care about. Like my mental health, if I'm having a bad day, I'm gonna treat everyone I care about poorly, or I'm not gonna reach out to them, or I'm not gonna call them. And I think kind of realizing that made me really prioritize balancing everything. So prioritizing balance is first thing that has really helped. And so determining like what I'm going to prioritize in a given month, just kind of knowing that balance is at like the forefront of it all. It has helped me just kind of do less so that I can ultimately treat people better, I guess. I don't really know if that like fully answers your question, but I think that's just how I've been able to feel like I am prioritizing everything that I want to in a given month. It's knowing that my priority is balance and my priority is treating the people I love right, or as best as I can. And I don't do that perfectly. I definitely acknowledge that, but I feel like I've been getting a lot better in the last couple of years because I'm prioritizing the balance and knowing that like I affect other people. Like how I treat people is a product of my mental health. That's like how I make peace with the fact that I don't want to get everything I need to done, but it's knowing what are like the top 2 things, maybe like one thing that day, and everything else can just be like nice to have. Yeah, I hope that helps, and let me know if it did or not. Okay, and those are all of my questions. I still have some coffee left. It's almost 9 o'clock and I need to sign on to work now. Also, I'm wearing my JH Collective short sleeve tee in the color Orchid. If you guys are interested, I'll leave that linked in the description box below. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed this little life catch-up chatty Q&A video, and I will see you guys in a new video very soon. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. I post new videos twice a week in 2024. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. But until then, miss you already. Pequenino que eu sei que o amor é cura, amolece a dor, ingratidão.